Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to be looking at this continued sideways movement and trying to understand whether we're really starting to gear up for a multi-year bull run. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, and also please do give the video a thumbs up. It'll help with the YouTube algorithms in terms of being found. So please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and let's go ahead and jump in. So we've talked a lot about, Bitcoin moving sideways, right? And the importance of Bitcoin to move sideways for an extended period of time so that we can build up support in that region. And we've shown, that in past bull markets, it's not all just, let's just go up and up and up. It's maybe we move up and then we move sideways for a long time. And these phases are important. If you kind of look at, this region over here, you can see we're moving sideways for half a year. This is a really long period of time for us to just basically stay range bound between, around close to $400 up to $500 and not really moving much outside of that range. Okay. And a reminder that this was where the 20-week moving average was first held as support. So we started moving sideways. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive on what you consider to be moving sideways, if you even take it from this wick over here, it was over 200 days. But you can see that it was the sideways movement, more or less. I mean, this is a move down right here, but again, this isn't really a huge percent move for Bitcoin when you look at what ultimately happened on the bull run. But what happened? The price of Bitcoin, it made a nice move, and then it more or less just went sideways into the 20-week moving average. So this is what we want to see. We want to see, the price of Bitcoin move sideways into the 20-week like we did in the past. I think this is a really, optimistic sign that we are moving sideways. Now the question is, will we hold the 20-week moving average as support? Now, if you go to present day and you look to see what happened with Bitcoin, it kind of tells a similar story. We saw a move up, and now instead of retracing like we did last time, a huge retrace, we haven't done this yet. What have we done? We've moved sideways. Okay, and the nice thing about this is that we're moving sideways above the 20-week moving average. If we were all the way down here moving sideways, then there's no bull party getting started anytime soon, because we have to first get above the 20-week, remain bullish for a while, move sideways for a long period of time. This is boring, right? But this is how bull markets start. The last bull market, when you look at the macro scale, it looks like it's all just fun and games, that it just went up and up and up. In reality, there were several periods of time, when you're looking at a few years on one chart, it really kind of dwarfs what might happen in the short term. But there were periods of time where the price, didn't really change that much over the course of half a year. So when looking back, it seems like, man, this was such a nice move. You have to remember that there was a lot of time that it took just to get to the previous all-time high, which was around this point. And once Bitcoin got to its previous all-time high here, came back to the 20-week, held support, and then it went parabolic up to 20K. All right? So to present day, what are we looking at? Well, the price of Bitcoin, it's moving sideways. All right? We saw the 20-week go down, and we said, okay, it's not going to be going down very long. Why do we know it's not going to be going down very long? Well, if you take a measured move from the current week, go back 20 weeks, we said, all right, well, it's going to start going down to begin with, because we're replacing, these bars up here with bars that are lower. So we're the average, the average that we're taking over those 20 weeks will go down. Therefore, we expected this move down. But we said it won't go down very long, because we're going to start excluding some of these candles, and they're being replaced with the ones that are up here that are higher. So we would expect that 20-week moving average to start increasing again. And you can see that it's done just that. I mean, this isn't rocket science. It's just looking at the numbers, and you can see the 20-week moving average has started to increase. Well, why is this important? Well, this is a big if, right? But if the price of Bitcoin were to continue to just move sideways, okay, then eventually, this 20-week moving average is, it's going to slowly trickle up to where the price of Bitcoin is, okay? And let's say that it does something like that, and maybe Bitcoin, remains range bound between, say, 8,600 and 10,000, maybe it just kind of oscillates in this window for a while. But ultimately, maybe it runs into the 20-week moving average. Now, I mean, I don't know if this is going to happen. We could drop to the 20-week moving average tomorrow and hold its support and be just, happy about that. But if you see something like this happen, then it could really be repeating a similar type of market structure that existed in the last market. So you see a pump, the final pump after that led to a golden cross. Obviously, there's volatility. We're going to see a golden cross, a 50-day crossing a 200-day to the upside. We showed that in the first market cycle there was one golden cross, and the second one there were two before the bull run, and then the third one maybe there's going to be three, and we've already seen three golden crosses. We saw our last golden cross a few weeks ago. We said that this is a necessary but not sufficient condition for the bull market to get going. Another necessary but not necessarily sufficient condition is being above the 20-week and holding it as support. So we need to hold this as support. If we go down to it today, then it would go down to $8,200, as you can see over here. If we were to move sideways and basically wait for the 20-week to kind of slowly trickle up to where the price of Bitcoin is, then it might take a few months. And this could potentially look like, Bitcoin just moving sideways for half a year, just like we saw in the last market cycle, and then holding support here in, say, the end of 2020. Maybe this is what happens. And once we do hold support, okay. Well, you remember last time with Ethereum. I mean, I know a lot of people who watch my channel also hold Ethereum. It was when Bitcoin held the 20-week moving average as support in the last market cycle that Ethereum really started moving. And what would this nicely coincide with? If this were the case, it would nicely coincide with getting near the end of the year, where historically speaking, it's a good time to be getting into the market, especially things like Ethereum, because they tend to move significantly during the first quarter of the year. This is just what the data suggests. And this could be timely. And it also shows, right, that the 4-year cycle theory is one of the biggest, I don't want to say lie, because I think that people truly believe that it's a thing. But it's one of the biggest misconceptions, in my opinion, that exists within cryptocurrency. The idea that the 4-year cycle theory is a thing. And whether you measure it from bottom to bottom or top to top, lengthening cycle theory is the name of the game. If you wanna just subtly shift where you're drawing those lines, where you're not drawing it from the bottom, then of course you can make the 4-year cycle theory work. But at the end of the day, I think the data will prevail, and the opinions that people have where they manipulate data to tell the story that they want to tell will ultimately not prevail. The data usually does prevail. So what we're looking for is, hopefully we'll continue to move sideways. I would be ecstatic to see a move up. Don't be surprised if we drop a little bit too. As long as we stay kind of range bound between like 8,600 and 10,000, I would still consider that more or less a sideways movement. If we start to break up to 12K, then this is something different, and then it's going to take a lot longer to really, confirm that 20-week moving average as support and say, okay, the bull run is here. But what's optimistic to me is that we have been moving sideways for an extended period of time, and if we were to continue this trend, just like we did during the last market cycle, then it could be outlining the start of a bull market that may officially start by this standard by the end of 2020, maybe the beginning of 2021. And we've talked about putting on our fair valuation trend line, or sorry, not our fair valuation, our primary regression band, and seeing us get to 20K by a sustainable 20K by the end of 2021. So in this region, and just continually slowly working our way up to 20K, and then going parabolic throughout 2022 and 2023. This is the idea. Again, if you look at our fair valuation, which is the yellow line, and you look at our lower valuation here, you can see that the price of Bitcoin in the last market cycle and the cycle before that one spent a decent amount of time between the lower valuation and then the fair valuation. So the first cycle here, back over here, first cycle it did it, second cycle here, third cycle here, fourth cycle we spent a little bit of time in it here, and we're again in that region. I feel like it's more likely than not that we continue to stay within this band, because it's going to be hard to stay up with this band, because to stay up with it, the price of Bitcoin has to increase, because this function is monotonically increasing. Therefore, as long as we kind of slowly move sideways, or just move sideways and maybe slowly trickle our way up, then we're staying between our lower band and our fair value band, okay, probably over the next, say, 15 to 16 months, breaking 20K and then really showing or seeing what Bitcoin can do after that. Now, before we continue, I just want to remind you that if you guys do like the content, please check out my premium list. You can find it at intothecryptoverse.com. We have a ton of stuff on the premium list. This is the way that I try to support the channel. Instead of running YouTube ads and all that stuff, or doing a lot of paid promotions or anything which you haven't seen on this channel, I just have my own report that I put out because I want to provide value to you guys if you're for that. So if you do sign up, you'll get access to a weekly premium video, a weekly newsletter backed by data science. Additionally, you will get access to a private Telegram alerts channel where I put out my candid thoughts about the market. I'll tell you what I'm doing. So if you want access to that, that's also included. And then you also get access to a Google Sheets dashboard with the risk metric and regression lines. So please check it out. We have around 400 people that are subscribed. So please check it out. If you have questions about it, you can always check out the public Telegram chat room. We have around 4,000 people in that chat room. You can ask people what do they think about it, and they'll tell you what they think. You could ask some questions and figure out if it's the right thing for you, or you can just shoot me an email. You can just go to the website at intothecryptoverse.com and just shoot me an email. And just go to the contact page, shoot me an email, and ask me any questions you have, and we'll try to work, try to see if it's something that would suit your own planning purposes. I'll also remind you that we also talk more about other asset classes. It's not just cryptocurrency, so do keep that in mind. So, what are we looking for? We're looking to see Bitcoin continuing to move sideways for a few months, and if we go up in the short term, great. It's always possible we see one of those shorter term speculative bubbles. If we do see something like that, I would say to be ready for it. I can guarantee you that no one knows exactly where we're headed. You've seen all sorts of people screaming $3,500 Bitcoin, $1,800 Bitcoin, or $30,000, $40,000 Bitcoin in a year. Again, this is just noise. Remember, this is just noise. And really no one knows exactly what's going to happen in the short term. We can look at the longer term trends to try to gauge what has the higher probability of happening. Now, again, if you think about the long term moves, and we've shown these trend lines before, but remember that if this is kind of the general outline of what will happen in the market, let me fix this so we can draw this out. So just for a visual aid, in case you haven't seen it, you can kind of see that market structure, the first cycle, and then the second cycle, right? And then the third, you can see the time is lengthening, and then the fourth, so something like that, and then ultimately it'll probably come up there and peak. I kind of drew it a little bit too far there. But you get the general idea. I mean, something more or less like that. And what happens in between that area? So what happens in, let's say, draw this right here. So this is just noise, okay? All this that happens around it, you see the price moving like crazy. It's just noise that is a way to weed those people out of the market. If they're let's say they're the smart money or the dumb money buying in, those capitulations will help weed them out of the market. And the smart money is ultimately saying, you know what, this is a good region to buy during this market cycle because I recognize this is our accumulation phase. We're down around 80 to 90%. Here, this was our accumulation phase, and here, this is our accumulation phase. And note that there's some uncertainty on that. You say, okay, it's between this region and this region, here and here, and maybe here and here. So I would say continue to accumulate. I mean, this is not financial advice. What am I doing? I'm just continuing to accumulate. I will be accumulating for the foreseeable future. The only thing that would stop me from accumulating Bitcoin is if the risk level gets to above 0.5. The risk metric is something you can find on this channel, by the way, and you do have live access to it if you join the premium list. Until that happens, I think it's for me, it's wise for me to continue accumulating Bitcoin. These moves that'll happen, over the next few months, I think are going to be largely insignificant compared to what will happen over, say, 2022, 2023, maybe even 2024 if it happens later, if the next peak happens a little bit later. I would like to take this moment to remind you that I'm sure there's a lot of people that watch the show that are still, hoping for that 4-year cycle theory to be correct. And I guess, all I can say to you is that if you do think it's correct, that's fine, but just be prepared. Don't make it so that you tie your entire investment based on what you think is going to happen based on that. Because there's a good chance that what happens is people who think the 4-year cycle theory is true, 2021 gets here and they're not seeing $100,000 Bitcoin, so then they say, what, maybe this is the end of Bitcoin, or maybe they think, I've waited 5 or 6 years, it still isn't going up, it's time to move out of the market. And then it's at that time where it starts to move up finally. So the market's going to keep people guessing. I think the majority of people still think that the 4-year cycle theory is true, but if you're observant, you'll notice that more and more people are coming around to the idea, well, maybe it's not true. Maybe there's something more to maybe there's more to the story than meets the eye. And maybe the idea of the 4-year cycle is just completely ludicrous that so many people have bought into it in the first place. So much so, if you even have the audacity to mention that it could be wrong to some groups of people, they essentially just scold you because well, how could the peak be in 2023? Because that doesn't give enough time for the bear market before 2024. This is complete and utter nonsense. That has to be the case. Like that it's a simple 4-year cycle. You buy in, the idea that you just buy in, say, 2015, 2016, and then you sell it in 2017, then you buy in, say, 2019 and 2020, you sell it in 2021. This is not how markets generally work. It doesn't just repeat the same 4-year cycle over and over and over. And of course, you can come up with all sorts of ways that you can manipulate what the 4-year cycle theory means to fit a particular bill that you might want to promote. But at the end of the day, it's a lot easier to explain things, right, by just looking at the market and seeing that our trends are getting longer and longer and longer, and that this is likely what will happen with Bitcoin. We'll see diminishing returns from market cycle bottom to the peak, and we'll also see the time to get to the next peak will take longer and longer and longer. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for a sustainable $20,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2021. When I said this 6 months ago or so, people thought I was completely crazy that it would take that long. Now we're 6 months further in. Now people, I think, are a little bit starting to buy it a little bit more because it's not as far off in the distance. It's only a little over a year from now that we'd be getting into the end of 2021. It's not that hard to imagine getting to a sustainable $20,000 Bitcoin taking that long. And remember, if we do get to a $20,000 Bitcoin before, say, the end of 2021 or 2022, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. We need to hold it as support. If we can hold 20,000 by support before then I'll concede that, okay, well, maybe the lengthening cycle theory isn't as prominent as I originally thought, but I really highly doubt the fact that we're going to get to that to this $20,000 level before this point over here. I think it's going to be a slow move up. And when we do get there, maybe we come up to it sometime in 2021, but hold it as resistance, and then finally break it into 2021, maybe beginning of 2022, and then we start to move parabolic to maybe between $100,000 to $200,000 if the previous math kind of holds up and we can project out in a way that seems logical. So let me know what you guys think about this content in the comment section below. Again, give the video a thumbs up if you like it, if you want other people to see it. I really do appreciate the likes on the video. Again, you can also check out the Telegram channel. We have over 4,000 people, so check it out. Finally, remember to subscribe, and if you want access to the premium content, you can find it at intothecryptoverse.com, and you'll get all sorts of perks. You can always just try it out for a month and see if you like it or not. If you don't, you can always cancel. And if you want a discount, you can pay for 6 or 12 months with cryptocurrency, and you'll get like a 5 or 10% discount. So check it out. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.